This is without question the most disturbing and disgusting teaching in Islam, and that would specifically be that Muslim men are allowed to have sexual intercourse with small children. It says in Surah chapter 65, verse 4, and those who are no longer expect menstruation among your women, if you have doubt, then their period is 3 months. That is, of course, their waiting period, their iddah, which means you have to wait 3 months to have sexual relations with them again. It says, and also for those who have not menstruated, and for those who are pregnant. Their term is until they give birth. And whoever fears Allah, He will make for him of his matter ease. So did you notice, even in the Arabic, it says those who have not yet menstruated, which once again means that it's prepubescent children whom these men are allowed to marry, have sex with, and divorce. This is disgusting. But this is not the only thing it says with regards to the Muslim conduct with regards to the Prophet even did this. You can see, and I'm going to show several references to show you that it's not a one-off thing in the Muslim sources. In Sahih Muslim 1422c, it says Aisha, this is the child bride, Allah be pleased with her, reported that Allah's apostle married her when she was 7 years old, and he was taken to his house as a bride when she was 9, and her dolls were with her. And when the holy prophet, died, she was 18. So the Muslim sources say that she was either 6 or 7 whenever she was married to Muhammad, and then taken to his house, and then they consummated the marriage at 9. But I want to also show that we can know for a fact that Aisha was still considered a child. Of course, at 6 or 7, that's pretty apparent to most people who have a ounce of common sense. But this is from a Muslim website. It says, with regards to how the dolls are viewed, it says, therefore the dolls are fully structured, meaning they have the head with the eyes, the ears, mouth, etc. Then it will be impermissible to acquire them, give them as a gift or for a small child to play with. Notice the red portion there. However, if the doll does not have a head, meaning they do not have eyes, ears, nose, and a mouth, which make them incomplete, then it will be permissible to make them and give them to small children. So here we have a Muslim source saying it is okay to give dolls to small children as long as they're not fully formed. But the point is that Aisha had her dolls with her whenever Muhammad married her and then took her to his house. This, once again, is very disgusting. I want to continue on and just continue to show that this is not like a one-off thing with the Muslim sources, as I said. So we can see in Sahih Bukhari, narrated Aisha, this is of course the child bride again, the Prophet married her when she was 6 years old, and he consummated his marriage when she was 9 years old. Hashem said, I have been informed Aisha remained with the Prophet for 9 years. That is until his death. So she stayed with him until she was 18 years old. But the point is that he consummated the marriage with a child who did not have the mental capacity to understand what was going on. So the point is that Muhammad violated this small child, and yet Muslims are fine with this because it happens, throughout the Muslim world even today. We can see narrated Aisha in Sahih Bukhari 5133. The Prophet married her when she was 6 years old, and he consummated his marriage when she was 9 years old, and then she remained with him for 9 years. So once again, it's just showing that it is consistent within the Muslim sources that Muhammad did indeed marry a 6-year-old, and then he violated her by penetrating her at 9 years old. Ask yourself, if you're a father, would you allow a 53-year-old man to climb on top of your child? I would hope you would have the common sense to say no, and that you would do something about it. Sahih Bukhari 5158, narrated Urah, the Prophet wrote the marriage contract with Aisha when she was 6 years old, and consummated his marriage with her while she was 9 years old, and she remained with him for 9 years until his death. Let's see, Sunan Ibn Nasai 3255, and I want you to notice that all these hadith are sahih, which means they're authentic, which means they're good to go. There's no question about these things. So this just shows how devious and disgusting Muhammad is to have had sex with a prepubescent child, and he violated her in that way, and it is repudiating and disgusting. Once again, Sunan Ibn Nasai 3255. It was narrated from Aisha that the messenger married her when she was 6 years old and consummated the marriage with her when she was 9 years old. And this is from the Islamic Law Manual, The Reliance of the Traveler. In section N 9.2, it says, a waiting period is obligatory for a woman divorced after intercourse, whether the husband and wife are prepubescent, have reached puberty, or one has and the other has not. So once again, this is the Islamic law code saying it's okay, but there needs to be a waiting period. If there is sexual intercourse, whether one of the parties is prepubescent or not. This is just very disturbing stuff that they have to enshrine this in the Islamic law manual. But once again, their prophet definitely seems to have been a very disgusting, and honestly, for lack of a better term, he seems, of course, to be a pedophile. And I understand that's very offensive to Muslims, but I'm calling balls and strikes here. I don't know what else you would like me to call it, besides that he was a pedophile and a danger to small children, specifically his child bride. But I want you to also know, though, that there is nothing like this in Christianity. Please find me where Jesus Christ did something this terrible, please. But I want you to see now that in Christianity, in 1 Corinthians chapter 7, verse 36, it says, if a man thinks he's acting improperly towards the virgin that he is engaged to, if she is getting beyond usual age for marriage, and he feels he should marry her, he can do that. He can do what he wants. He is not sinning. Now, do you notice the highlighted portion there? It says, getting beyond the usual age of marriage. This means, according to the intermediate Greek English lexicon, that this woman is past the bloom of youth, which means that she has gone through puberty and she is considered to be an adult. And so we can see here that Christianity and Islam are so different in this aspect that in Islam you're allowed to marry, have sex with, and divorce prepubescent girls, but yet in Christianity it is mandatory that you wait for the individual to pass the age of puberty. Once again, this just shows the abhorrent teachings of Islam, and I invite you to discard Islam as a viable option to save your souls.